Welcome. The war of words between the Somali community and Donald Trump is now wide open. Trump's remarks attacking Somalis have sparked outrage, not just in the United States, but in Somalia as well. United States Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who represents one of the largest Somali communities in America, fired back after Trump's renewed his attacks on her and the Somali community.
The president has always had very bigoted, xenophobic, Islamophobic comments when it comes to, people who are of Muslim faith or people who are black. We've seen him call African nations as shitholes.
A single insult, one careless statement, and suddenly a major geopolitical deal is on the brink of collapse. Somalia is no longer staying silent, and the message is loud. Respect comes before resources. After controversial remarks from a former United States leader, Somalia is now threatening to walk away from a high-stakes uranium agreement that could reshape its economy and global influence. This isn't just about words, it's about power, dignity, and a new Africa that refuses to be talked down to.
What began as a few reckless words has rapidly escalated into a diplomatic crisis with consequences that stretch far beyond rhetoric. Recent remarks by a former United States leader widely interpreted as dismissive and insulting toward African nations have ignited a sharp response from Somalia, one that now threatens to upend a high-stakes uranium arrangement long viewed as central to the country's economic future. The fallout highlights not only strained bilateral relations, but also a deeper shift in how African states are choosing to engage with Western power. The controversial remarks were delivered in a familiar tone, blunt, sweeping, and devoid of diplomatic care. Though framed as commentary on global affairs, they echoed long-standing stereotypes that many Africans associate with decades of external condescension. In Somalia, a country that has spent years rebuilding institutions, restoring sovereignty, and asserting itself on the international stage, the comments landed not as casual talk, but as an affront to national dignity. Coming from a figure whose words still carry weight in global politics, the remarks were widely viewed as an insult not just to Somalia, but to Africa as a whole. The context made the comments especially sensitive. Somalia has invested significant effort in repositioning itself, from a nation defined by conflict to one defined by opportunity. International partnerships, resource development, and economic reform have been central to that transformation. Against this backdrop, remarks that appeared to reduce African nations to caricatures struck a nerve. Many Somali commentators argued that such language revealed an outdated mindset, one that sees Africa as subordinate rather than sovereign. The response from Mogadishu was swift and unusually firm. Senior officials condemned the remarks, emphasizing that Somalia would no longer tolerate disrespect from any external actor, regardless of past alliances. Statements released by the government underscored a clear message: cooperation must be built on mutual respect, or it will not exist at all. What elevated the dispute from verbal condemnation to genuine geopolitical tension was the linkage Somali officials made between dignity and economic policy. At the center of the dispute lies a uranium agreement that has been quietly discussed as part of Somalia's long-term development strategy. Somalia is believed to possess significant untapped mineral resources, including uranium deposits that could place it on the map as a strategic supplier in a world increasingly focused on energy security and diversification. For Somalia, the potential benefits of such a deal extend far beyond immediate revenue. Resource development offers leverage, global relevance, and a pathway toward reduced dependency on foreign aid. The arrangement under discussion reportedly involved cooperation with United States-linked entities, combining external technical expertise with Somali resource ownership. Supporters within Somalia argued that the deal represented a pragmatic step, monetizing natural wealth while engaging a global power capable of providing investment, technology, and market access. Critics, however, warned that unequal terms or political pressure could undermine sovereignty if not carefully managed. It is precisely this concern that now shapes Somalia's threat to cancel or suspend the agreement. By tying economic cooperation to political respect, Somali leaders are signaling a new approach. The message is clear: access to Somali resources is not guaranteed by historical influence or global power status. It must be earned through partnership that recognizes Somalia as an equal actor. This posture reflects broader political trends across Africa. In recent years, governments from the Sahel to the Horn of Africa have shown growing willingness to challenge Western influence, renegotiate contracts, and diversify alliances. Economic nationalism, once dismissed as rhetoric, is increasingly shaping policy decisions. Somalia's stance fits squarely within this pattern, a declaration that sovereignty extends to words, tone, and attitude, not just borders. The implications for relations with the United States are significant. For decades, the United States has positioned itself as a key security and development partner in Somalia. Cooperation on counterterrorism, humanitarian aid, and state building has formed the backbone of engagement. A rupture over resource policy would mark a notable shift, suggesting that Somalia is prepared to recalibrate even long-standing partnerships if they are perceived as unequal. International reactions have been mixed but attentive. Across Africa, many observers have praised Somalia's assertiveness, framing it as a long-overdue correction in global power dynamics. Social commentary and regional media have highlighted the episode as evidence that African governments are increasingly unwilling to separate economics from respect. The sentiment resonates with younger generations in particular, who see dignity and self-determination as inseparable from development. Outside the continent, reactions have been more cautious. Analysts note that uranium is a strategically sensitive resource, tied not only to energy markets, but also to global security considerations. Any disruption in supply discussions, even at an early stage, draws attention from energy planners and policymakers. For the United States, the prospect of losing access to potential new resource partners raises questions about how diplomatic language and political culture affect long-term strategic interests. Within Somalia, public reaction has largely favored the government's hardline. Many citizens view the uranium debate as symbolic, a test of whether Somalia's resources will finally serve Somali interests first. While there is awareness of the risks involved in confronting powerful partners, there is also a strong sense that national pride and respect cannot be priced. For a population that has endured decades of external intervention, the idea of asserting control over natural wealth carries deep emotional weight. The episode also raises broader questions about how African nations are redefining engagement with former colonial and dominant powers. The traditional model, aid, security cooperation, and extractive agreements negotiated behind closed doors, is increasingly under scrutiny. In its place, many African governments are demanding transparency, equitable terms, and rhetorical respect as baseline conditions for partnership. From a geopolitical perspective, Somalia's move signals an evolving balance of power. While Western countries still wield enormous economic and military influence, African states are leveraging resources, strategic geography, and alternative partnerships to expand their options. The willingness to walk away from a major deal, even as a threat, demonstrates confidence that was rare just a decade ago. For the United States, the incident may prompt reflection on how political discourse at home reverberates abroad. In an interconnected world, statements made for domestic audiences can carry international consequences, shaping perceptions and policies thousands of miles away. If access to resources and strategic partnerships is to be maintained, tone and respect may matter as much as economic incentives. Looking ahead, the situation remains fluid. Somalia has not definitively ended discussions, leaving room for recalibration and diplomacy. The threat itself may be intended as leverage, a way to force a reset in how Somalia is spoken to and about. Whether the United States responds with engagement or dismissal will likely determine the next chapter. What is clear is that this episode is about more than uranium. It is about agency, respect, and the terms on which Africa engages the world. Somalia's response to perceived insult underscores a broader awakening. Economic cooperation can no longer be divorced from political dignity. As African nations continue to assert themselves, global powers may find that the cost of careless words is far higher than expected. In the long run, this confrontation could serve as a turning point. It may encourage more balanced negotiations, foster new alliances, or accelerate Africa's push toward greater self-reliance. For Somalia, the message has already been sent, to partners and critics alike, that the era of silent acceptance is over. The future of United States-Africa relations may well depend on how seriously that message is taken.